Thank you for joining us for session number 7 of our series on the 10 top scams in Delaware. My name is Gina Schoenberg. I'm the Deputy Director of Consumer Protection, and I am thrilled to welcome our Chief Special Investigator, Alan Rachko, and Kimberly Wharton of AARP Delaware. Alan, as I said, is our Chief Special Investigator. He investigates violation of Delaware's Consumer Protection Act. He oversees our Identity Theft Passport program. He's a member of our outreach committee and conducts presentations throughout the state to different communities and organizations. Prior to joining us at the Department of Justice, Chief Investigator Rachko was a police officer with the Dover Police and retired at the rank of lieutenant in June of 2013. Kimberly Wharton is the Associate Director of Communications for AARP of Delaware. AARP Delaware and CAM are frequent partners with the Consumer Protection Unit and the Senior Protection Initiative on outreach education efforts for seniors. So thank you both for joining us. We're going to be talking about prizes, sweepstakes, and lottery scams this morning. And Alan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Gina. And yes, again, my name is Alan Rachko, and I've been with the Department of Justice in the Consumer Protection Unit for just over 7.5 years. And we've seen quite a few of these sweepstakes scams and lottery scams I want to talk to you about today. Delaware citizens are being scammed out of hundreds of thousands of dollars a year from these scams. And this isn't something that just happens in other states that you hear or read about on the news. This is happening in every county in Delaware. The sweepstakes scams are very prevalent among our senior population. The biggest one I see is the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. Why is it the biggest? The scammers have free advertising from legitimate sweepstakes that we see on TV. Here are some red flags or warning signs that should pop up once these scammers talk to you about this. You get notice that you won, but you've never played. And they tell you must pay upfront fees and taxes before they can award you any prizes. They don't have a legitimate email or phone number that goes back to any true sweepstakes company. There's another one that has just come up, and I've interviewed a gentleman last week about this, so it is occurring. There's another scam. It's where you'll get a call or an email that tells you want money from companies that give money away, but they have extra money from those who failed payment, and you are on their list. The call that they call from, it can't be traced back to a company. They ask you for upfront fees before they can send you money. And they might even supply you with a number and a code, which they say is to a bank. You'll call that number, and it'll ask for the code. You'll punch that code in, and then you'll hear recording. Recording tells you that there are millions of dollars in that account. They also want you to mail money to someone that you don't know. And in that mailing, it's just a person's name in a different state. You put it in a regular envelope with your check and you send that off. Well, no legitimate company will do that, but that's part of the scam, and it is happening throughout this country. The reality is, if you do not play a specific lottery or a sweepstakes, you can't win. Just from some of the people I've talked to, I've interviewed seniors who have lost over $400,000, and it's not coming back. I've talked to people who get involved and they say, I'm in it this far, I might as well play it out to see if it's real. And it's never real. These bad people, scammers, are not how you will perceive a bad person. They're very kind, very polite, very complimentary, so be careful. Before you give anyone information over the phone or internet, talk to a family member, a friend, someone at your place of worship, or an organized club gathering. You cannot research the alleged company. Let someone you trust research it for you. And as always, when in doubt, leave it alone and move on. That's just some of the things that we've seen. I'm going to pass this on to Kim right now, and we'll give you some tips towards the end. Kim?
Oh, well, thanks, Alan. Yeah, you know, AARP is an organization that represents people over the age of 50 and their families. And here in Delaware, we have about 187,000 members at any given time. And so we always hear a lot of stories from our members, and we know that preventing fraud is a top priority for them. We have a Fraud Watch Network online tool, and we also have a hotline. We get calls all the time, and a story comes to mind that I just can't forget it. A woman in California got a letter or a postcard claiming to be the Mega Millions lottery. Now there is a Mega Millions, but this was, a fake scam. And it told her she won a Mercedes-Benz convertible, but that she had to call a number to claim her prize. And when she called the number, they told her that she would have to pay the taxes up front for the prize, and instructed her to go get one of these gift cards and come back and call back and give them the gift card number. And originally they asked her for $30,000, and she said, no way. But then they kept whittling it down, and finally they said, well, how about 10,000? And she said, oh, that doesn't seem so bad for a Mercedes-Benz. So she actually fell victim to this scam and lost her money. And here's somebody who was a school teacher with a master's degree. So I just think that, these lottery scams are all over the place, and they're still going strong. They're even worse over the past year with the pandemic and people being home on the computer a lot and really looking for someone to talk to in a lot of cases. In 2020, the Federal Trade Commission received more than 116,000 reports of fraud involving prizes, fake sweepstakes, lotteries, and the total loss for people was 166 million. So I think the average loss was about 1,000 a person, but some people lose their retirement savings or as much as $16,000. So these people don't have enough time to make that money back. The initial contact for some of these scams, it's a phone call, an email, a social media pop-up, sometimes even direct mail congratulating you for winning some big contest. And, you always have to think, if something's too good to be true, it probably is. There's usually a catch. You usually have to pay a fee, taxes, customs duties for your prize. They might ask you for your bank account information so they can direct deposit something for you, or, send money, do the gift cards. And, the problem with these gift cards that once you give them that number, I believe, and I know Alan can probably confirm this, it's really almost impossible to track back where it went. And yes, older people are popular targets, and people over 50 even, and I think over the past year, people have been home. They're on the computer. They're getting these pop-ups. According to the Better Business Bureau in 2020, they did a study, and they found that 80% of the money lost to sweepstakes scammers came from people over the age of 65. So really, let's not blame the victim, though, because many of those who fell victim to these scams, they have high degrees, they have careers. And I think during the pandemic, like I've been saying, over the past year, so many people are eager to get a phone call or just talk to someone. They're playing games online, they're trying to email people, and not everyone has that savvy to know that pop-up probably, look at the link on the email, and if it looks a little funny, you might want to just think twice. And so, I just think one of the warning signs is, if anybody asks you for an upfront payment or over the phone, really think twice. And I think that most of these legitimate lotteries like Publishers Clearinghouse or the Mega Millions, they don't just call people. They all say that. We would never cold call somebody. And you really want to double check when you get these mailings to see if it's legitimate. I always tell people, just, don't be impulsive. Take a step back and ask another person. Ask somebody else, does this look right? Does this sound right to you? That is really one of the best tips I can give people, is try not to get under the ether and get impulsive when these people are trying to pressure you into, giving you their account number. So I think if you follow some of those tips, you can really help prevent fraud. Ask somebody. That's my biggest tip right now.
Thank you, Kim. And you make such a good point. I mean, Alan and I, unfortunately, we see this with some frequency in our office, and we had a literal rocket scientist lose $400,000. You know, this is not about you know, being smart or being foolish. This can happen to anyone. And I heard recently an example that I just thought was so helpful. You know, if you want to write a letter to, you know, Santa Claus, or somebody wants to pretend that they're being Santa Claus, they can put anything they want on that return address envelope, you know, to let the children think they're getting maybe a letter from Santa Claus. And the same thing works, you know, with mailings, internet advertisements, over the phone. People can pretend to be whoever they want to be, or whatever, you know, claim to be giving you whatever they want you to think, to, you know, to get you to give over your money. So just remembering that, just like with mail, you know, the same tools are available, you know, even more so over the internet and over the phone with the technology that's available today. So Alan, can you tell us what are some of your best consumer tips?
Yeah, thank you, Gina and Kim. That was very informative. Just a note on this, we threw out some big numbers here, $400,000. Now, that wasn't given away in one check. This was given away over time, because once the scammers get you and capture your imagination, you're writing them checks weekly, monthly, and this goes over years. A couple that I talked to gave over $400,000. This is going on over 3 years that they've done this, and they will keep that from their kids or their friends who don't know about this. So if you see a senior or anyone that is acting different and they have to start asking for money and you don't know why, you need to check in to see really where their money has gone, because they could be wrapped up in one of these. So you really have to watch it. It's not one check for that amount. It's spread out over the years, and they'll keep it from you. Number one, they're embarrassed. Number two, these people are telling them, don't tell anyone about this. Another thing, emails. These emails that you get that are not from someone that you're supposed to get from, not from a business that you know, think of that like a knock on your door. If you get a knock on a door from a stranger, you're not going to open up that door. You're going to say, who is it? You're going to check before you open up that door. You should do the same thing with your email. You shouldn't open them up unless you know where that's coming from. Also, a really good website that you should go to is the Federal Trade Commission. The FTC.gov has a lot of resources. You can report fraud, identity theft. You can get your copy of your free credit report, and there's so much more on there. There's videos on how to avoid the scams so you don't fall victim to them. So really look up the FTC.gov and be careful about the phone calls that you answer and the emails that you open up. Thanks, Gina.
Thank you, Alan. That is such helpful advice. And your point about it going on over time, I hope that our viewers really take that to heart. You know, this can go on for years, and intervention sooner the better. Kim, can you share with us just the information about the AARP's Fraud Watch Network, and maybe the hotline phone number?
Oh, certainly. You know, we have the Fraud Watch Network. It is an online tool that you can go and actually type in your zip code and see what scams are happening right in your community. You would just go to aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork, all one word. We have a hotline phone number. Get your pen out, 877-908-3360, where you can report fraud or see what to do if you think you've been scammed. It's a great resource, and we get a lot of interesting stories that we can share with people from that. And you know, one of the biggest things we tell people is just don't ever give anybody your Medicare number or other personal information like Social Security number, unless of course you're on the phone with maybe a medical office. But you know, and just don't get under the ether. Try to really keep from being impulsive. It's interesting. The Federal Trade Commission did a survey, and I love to look through all this different research, that people who had a high risk behavior were more likely to be scammed. So, you know, just be wary of your own eagerness and call our hotline.
Thank you so much. Alan, in fact, let me just say to our viewers, if you have questions, please throw them into the comment section of this live event, and we will get to as many as we can. Hopefully some of you have some questions. But Alan, while we hopefully wait for somebody to put something in the comment section, can you tell us what should our viewers do if they feel that they've been victimized?
Sure, if you feel like you've been a victim, you're going to want to report that to the police and the Federal Trade Commission. You'll also want to call family members. This is not time to be embarrassed. This is what happens, and it happens. Like I said, the bad people are good at what they do. And as soon as you report it to someone, the sooner you can get it stopped, and you'll feel better, and you'll keep your hard-earned money.
You know, a lot of this is happening over the phone. All of our phones are ringing off the hook all of the time. How can we get these, Alan, how can we get these scammers to stop calling us?
Sure, that's hard right now, but the main thing to do is refuse to have a conversation. If you're going to answer, refuse to have a conversation in the beginning. Hang up, and they'll move on to someone else. Or you could tell them that, I know this is a scam, I'm forwarding your number to the police. Or just hang up. Don't engage them in conversation because, as I stated, they are good talkers.
And there's so many services available now through your phone providers. I've signed up to have any spoofed phone numbers or manufactured numbers automatically blocked or identified as potential spam. So I highly encourage our listeners to, talk to your provider and see what options are available to reduce these calls. I also want to mention, if you do get one, make sure that you write down the phone number as it appears on your caller ID, the name, if any, as it appears on your caller ID, and the exact time of day that you received the call. If you can send that to us at the Department of Justice immediately, we will undertake efforts to try to trace that call, particularly if you've been victimized, either threatened in some way over the phone or lost money. We really want to know if that's happening to you and for you to take down those critical details. Kim, do you have any last things that you want to say from AARP?
Well, AARP is really an organization that represents people over the age of 50 and their families, and we survey our members every 2 years or so. And every time, this is a top priority for our members, preventing these scams and identifying fraud, and protecting them and their families. A lot of people in their 50s are taking care of an older relative in their 70s or 80s. So this is great information for people. And really, thank you for doing this.
Well, thank you. We so appreciate AARP, everything, the wonderful work that you do nationally and right here in Delaware. And we love partnering with you. Thank you, Special Investigator Ratchko. Please tune in for our next segment today at 2 o'clock. We're going to be talking about consumer credit. That should be very helpful. And then tomorrow morning, we will have a piece on data security and cyber threats at 10 a.m. So there's a lot good left to come. Thank you for joining us for this series as we celebrate National Consumer Protection Week.
Thank you.
Thank you.